to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in.
It's still football time.
Always. Forever.
It's football week.
I'm exhausted.
They wanted Christmas too, huh? They had to have Christmas.
And the day after?
Well,
the day after that?
They got it. And we all lost.
Well, and you know, we're here. We're here. It's championship week. It's Christmas week. It's gonna be an uphill climb
for
Al Borland, which I am. For me.
Yeah, it's a downhill jaunt.
It went very poorly for me on Christmas Day because the Texans offense gave the Saints a run for their money on the most inept. Couldn't block, couldn't escape the pocket, couldn't play call, couldn't catch the football. When they finally did,
couldn't hit easy passes.
That's what I was going to say. The part that was the most annoying was that when they occasionally put a protection together for C.J. Stroud that allowed him to step up into the pocket and make a pass, he was really inaccurate. Like he had out routes to Nico Collins. He had plays that he could have easily moved the ball down the field. It was a blowout, and there was a chance that it wasn't going to be a blowout till the Baltimore Ravens shut down a first and goal. It was very good for Al Borland. Al Borland already talking crap this morning. He simultaneously doesn't want to jinx.
He would never.
He doesn't want to jinx his performance, and yet he has slipped in some one-liners talking crap, which is good because when these two guys deceived me last year, moment of the year, Josh's deception with the sidekick, Batman and Robin, when that happened, it looked like you guys screwed me. And then it ended up with me on top. So I'm just saying, like, Christmas Day looks like you've got the big advantage. You got a 20-point. You're a 20-point favorite now. Nothing can go wrong.
I'm impressed right now with your storytelling and your bravado, given the fact that you're standing in a hole right now.
Oh, I'm standing in a big hole.
And it's starting to fill with
you
water.
Ever seen a Hallmark movie? Those things suck.
Yeah, you're going to cry? You're going to cry?
Well, I mean, we'll see.
They're always nonsensical.
Yeah, I mean, but it all comes together in the end. The script doesn't matter. It just works out.
But for who?
Yeah.
Because it might just be working out real nice for the underdog who's never won a championship in the league before.
Yeah, I mean, of all the people, it's the Make-A-Wish that I'm fine. I'm fine with Owl. I'm fine with Al Borland getting one.
Go Owl.
Thank you, Mike.
And I don't expect him to act like he's been there before because,
I won't.
Because he hasn't.
Yeah. But the summary of the Christmas games was that the Chiefs just demolished and manhandled the Steelers. Xavier Worthy, 8 for 79 and a touchdown, 9 more targets. Travis Kelce, a week too late. Had he done this last week, Mike, you would not be in the dynasty title game.
No, I would not. And this was like it's like the Steelers game planned, and they were like, yeah, Travis Kelce's not a thing anymore.
He's washed.
You're like, but if you leave him wide open in the middle of the field, that's how he got everything done in the past. Like we, for years, would scream at the television, how is Travis Kelce left so wide open? And then the last, year and a half, teams have been like, maybe we should not do that. And he's been shut down. And then the Steelers are like, nah.
Well,
what can he do?
320-3 for Mahomes, who did whatever he wanted to do. In the Ravens game, 31-2, the Ravens on top. Lamar Jackson only passed for 168 yards, only completed 10 passes. So if you look at the target share for someone like Zay Flowers, 5 targets on 15 attempts, that's a juicy 33% of your targets. However, they didn't need to throw the football. And his touchdowns, play action,
48-yard rushing touchdown.
Yeah, I was going to say he only had 4 carries in the whole game. Lamar Jackson, if you said he only threw 10 completions and carried the ball 4 times, you'd say, well, that was a bad game. Except he ended up with 87 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, and 2 passing touchdowns. Great game for Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry was a monster.
Yeah, and the lack of competitiveness in this game is what slowed Henry down from continuing his assault because the Texans They were shut out on offense. They had one safety. That was it. They were shut out otherwise. Mixon 9 for 26. Not a lot of opportunity when first downs are not on the board. Dalton Schultz his way right out of my start of the week because
he looked
C.J. Stroud
slower.
C.J. Stroud looked awful.
Yeah.
And Baltimore made them look dumb. And they clearly needed more receiving options than John Mechie. So that was the game. Mark Andrews got into the end zone again.
And had a huge catch and run on top of the touchdown.
His line is great because he's 2 for 68 and a touchdown. He had a long of 67. It wasn't the touchdown. So that was your Christmas Day games. Did you guys have a nice Christmas?
Yeah. I think I had a very, very nice Christmas. One to remember. And honestly, I liked Christmas football as well. It was a good time.
Well, you're gonna get it
forever
from here until the end of eternity.
So they tried to make the football cake thing.
Oh man, that was so whoops.
The football cake for both of the Netflix games, and then they wouldn't eat it.
Well, I think Mahomes and Kelsey.
Yeah,
did.
they did. But
and then Henry and Lamar were both like, no.
They're like, "Do you look at us?
Yeah,
we don't eat cake. We don't eat cake." I think Al Borland might have had a slice though.
I did.
Yeah, he enjoyed. How are you doing? Is the blood pressure like you were getting alerts on your watch and your health devices?
Not a joke.
That's real life. Did you
Yeah, I think the vitals have come back to baseline for now. Or
yeah.
Maybe slightly elevated still.
I believe the latest projection had it 67-33. How do you feel about that? Do you feel
saying 67%
67%, 33% for me now that I've got 3 duds on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean anything could happen. I'm not counting any chickens, but I'm happy to be.
And you don't have anybody tonight, right?
I do not.
Just for the sake of anticipation, Al's got all of his players done on Sunday. I'll have all my players done except for one. So there's a chance we go into Monday Night Football. If there's I asked him, Jahmyr Gibbs is who I have on Monday Night Football.
Oh man.
So I asked him how many points do you need
30.
to feel like you can live on Monday night?
I told him 45.
I don't blame you because
30.
There are very few players. It's like Jamar Chase where you think or an Alvin Kamara, you go, there's a chance for a 45-point game.
Yeah,
it's like it's probably not going to happen, but there's a chance. So until you're up 50, you will be scared.
His question was how many points for you to feel safe, and 45 is the only number that I felt I would feel safe. So
the odds of you going stress-free into Monday night are probably kind of low. So that should be fun. We've got news to talk about. We got all the matchups to get into. Lots going on, and let's get right into it.
News and notes from around the league, presented by USAA Insurance.
Well, for a running back named Ken Walker, he does a lot of limping. He's been ruled out, ankle injury, 3rd injury of the year for Walker, maybe 4th, really.
Ken, soggy newspaper.
Do you think
Walker.
it's because he needs one? Like that's
Walker?
Yeah, like his namesake.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this is Ken Brittle Bones
This
Walker.
dude, get my man some milk and get this dude in the yoga room because he needs to stretch these ligaments out.
James Conner has been limited Tuesday and Wednesday, both days.
Wild.
There is a chance he goes into the matchup this week without an injury designation. There's a possibility of that. And if that happens, you should expect him to be out there and pushing towards career highs in rushing yardage. And there you go.
Now you have the decision of Jalen McMillan versus James Conner. James Conner's Saturday, so you will know, and you'll have to make that decision. You'll know if he's active or not. Are you going to start an injured Conner if he's active?
Oh.
If he is without an injury designation, yes. He's over 20 fantasy points 3 straight games, and he's also maybe not.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. The Foot Clan's very
you're setting up
helped.
You're setting up a decision I plan to make Saturday on Thursday. I'm not going to make the decision today.
All right.
We'll see what it looks like on Saturday. I waited and did not play Xavier Worthy in that spot because I wanted the opportunity to see if Conner was going to play, and I wish I had played Worthy, who scored more points than Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, and Zay Flowers combined.
Ooh.
And it's
that
also,
hurts.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out and remembering because a lot of people, this is going to be one of those names I think going into next year that the people who didn't make the playoffs or didn't pay attention later on, Xavier Worthy's having a little bit of a breakout here. I mean, that's 3 impactful games in a row.
And he's on the field all the time, versatile, using him in the screen game and the end arounds. Every game he gets one of those old school, Percy Harvin style end arounds. It's part of the offense. Jalen Hurts did not practice. Questionable for this weekend if you survived somehow.
Yeah.
Which most of you didn't. Anthony Richardson dealing with a back and foot injury. Malik Neighbors will talk about those games today. Let's go Drake London, limited on Wednesday with a knee injury. He's Sunday Night Football. Chris Olave returned to a full practice on Wednesday. Alvin Kamara did not practice.
What are we doing here, Saints?
There's also Darren Rizzi said Rattler will start if Carr can't play.
Which insinuates that they're still wanting Carr to come back, and I would imagine that when Carr comes back might be when Olave comes back. I mean, if it was me as like a coach or an organization, I don't really need Olave trying to like lift up Spencer Rattler and be getting a bunch of murder balls. Not that Derek Carr doesn't throw his own.
Aaron Rodgers says he will play Sunday despite dealing with an MCL injury. Both he and Devontae Adams were limited in practice. Okay, that was today's news and notes presented by USAA Insurance. Learn more at usaa.com/insurance. We've got starts of the week. We got weather to talk about, too.
Oh, a little bit rain. A lot of it rain.
A lot of it decisions to be made.
Starts of the week.
Well, quarterback, start of the week, I'm going Brock Purdy against Detroit. If for some reason you're not living with one of the best guys at the quarterback position, highest over-under of the week, I think Brock Purdy will be able to do enough against the Detroit defense. 202 is the kind of the target line there. I think he'll go above that. I'm going to go Purdy.
I'm going to go Baker Mayfield, championship week against the Carolina Panthers. Laser Mayfield has been, I mean, he's the quarterback 6 right now in the course of the year. He had a lull when, he was dealing with his injuries and Mike Evans' injuries, but he's back. He was great last week. Carolina's defense is 30th in schedule-adjusted fantasy points to quarterbacks. They're dead last in fantasy points per drop back using zone coverage. I think this is a great matchup for Baker. And the nice thing is, with Bryce Young playing better ball, you might actually need Baker to keep throwing as the game goes on, and that's the hope.
Yeah, and if I'm a big underdog on Saturday, this is why McMillan would be attractive, because maybe you catch lightning in a bottle and you get the 2-touchdown game from McMillan. It's not something we haven't seen. 2 weeks ago he did it. That would be the bull case for it.
My quarterback star of the week, I think it's Bo Nix against Cincinnati, because everything.
Maybe not, though.
Everything. Well, here's the thing. Here's the case for him. QB 10, must-win game. We went over, the teams who have to win right now. It's a 49.5 point over-under right now. That is juicy. It's one of the highest of the week. He's got.
It's still at 49.5.
Kyle, go ahead and check that for me.
I would like to know. This is what. Just
that
so you
is
know,
correct.
This is one of the weather games.
Yes.
That's why there's.
That's
hesitation.
why it's. I think so. I'm making the case for him. Look, Cincinnati's defense. This is a team you want to play against. 28th in schedule-adjusted points to the quarterback. 26th in passing yards allowed. It's still at 49.5. This is like before Christmas Day when I checked some weather. I was like, I am so excited for this matchup. But this is one that you have to keep an eye on, that there are some meteorologists out there who are like, they believe rain is likely, potential a lot of rain for this game. So this is,
and more importantly, 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts.
This is a keep an eye on. Obviously, look, we're Thursday. By the time we get to game time for this, it may be completely different. As one who has been and experienced the weather that is Denver, that crap can come out of nowhere. Like,
was that where your concert was?
I was at a concert in Denver, and all of a sudden they're like, everyone needs to seek shelter right now. And you're like, what are you talking about? And you look up, it's fine. But then you look over the horizon, and you go, oh no!
Run!
Yeah, you're like that's a storm over there. And then as quick as it came, it was just gone. So mountain weather is crazy. I think it's Bo Nix, but like I would if weather's good here, would love to play Bo Nix.
Well, the other side of that matchup is Joe Burrow. So there's a lot of people hanging on Mike is already feeling it,
dude,
permeate his anxious pores.
And it's funny here too because in the dynasty league where you're trying to go back
Burrow
to back
and Chase,
you've got Burrow and Chase. However, in listener league where Andy's in the championship, he's playing against Burrow and Chase. So one of you is going to be happy about the weather.
Yeah, in League of Record, I have Chase and no Burrow. So I'm right in the middle there where it's like, can I thread the needle? All right, Bucky Irving is my running back start of the week against Carolina. Once again, looked unbelievable out there last week. He has surpassed James Conner in the most broken tackles. He is,
he's good.
His special ingredient is acceleration after he makes a move. He gets up to speed so fast. He's breaking tackles because he's running extremely fast through these holes, and the arm tackles are not bringing him down. He's kind of reminding me of, when Thomas Rawls, the Rolls-Royce, had a moment in time in Seattle where once he got up to speed, it was just kind of a ferocity to his running game. This is an amazing matchup. He was the RB1 overall against these Panthers in Week 13. It's a must-win game for the Buccaneers to stay alive, to try to win the division. They're not the division winners right now. Carolina, dead last. James Conner in 2.5 quarters gave you a 25-point game last week against Carolina. Bucky Irving, he'd be the reason that Baker doesn't have a good game.
Right.
If Bucky Irving has such an explosive performance, he's my start of the week going into title game.
Yeah, I would love to have Bucky in my lineup. I'm going to go with my guy Breece Hall in Buffalo.
Okay.
We have a complicated relationship. Breece likes to put me out of the playoffs, and then it's his time to shine.
Yeah.
And so he did that last week. Last week he was back up to 77% of snaps, 20 opportunities, including 6 targets. And the targets are really the key here because Buffalo, they are the most terrible team at pass catching running backs. They give up the most running back receiving yards of every team, second most running back receptions and receiving touchdowns allowed. They give up the highest explosive run rate. Buffalo, the matchup is good. The weather should be bad there. That should be another one of those kind of watch out for rain games, which means I think there will be a lot of dump-offs for Breece Hall. If in the games where the rain is heavy and wind is high, running back fantasy usage and value usually goes up. So I will start Breece this week.
Andy's got Bucky Irving, but that's not going to scare me off of Rachaad White, who has actually been fantastic right along with Bucky Irving. It's wild. The fact that we are getting such high-level play, such high-level fantasy production from 2 running backs in the same backfield.
It's a little bit of Montgomery Gibbs light.
Yes, yes, very, very much. Since Week 7, he's right behind Bucky in fantasy points per game. We're talking Bucky's at just over 15, and Rachaad White's at about 14.5. And you laid out everything of you can attack this team, but it is simply both of these guys are getting substantial work, and both of them are playing extremely well, and the matchup is fabulous.
And still alive, the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to go Tyreek Hill at wide receiver against Cleveland. Don't overthink this. Play Tyreek. He is
unless there's terrible weather.
That's another.
Unless there's terrible. Well, I mean, Tyreek they can get him the ball in short area space too, but he's a great road wide receiver. They're going into Cleveland. They're 6.5-point road favorites, and Cleveland's defense is 31st against fantasy wideouts. I think Tyreek is a very safe play this week. If I could take Nico Collins out of my lineup and swap in Tyreek today, I would love to do that, but I can't.
That's fair.
I'm going to go with the old man who's been on fire. I'm not talking about Adam Thielen, who's a fine start in himself.
Or Al Borland, who's also winning a lot of games.
There you go. I'm going with Keenan Allen against Seattle tonight. Keenan, I mean, he's made a believer out of me. He was looking old and moldy, and in reality, it was just a Shane Waldron problem. Since the
Old and moldy.
Since the offensive coordinator change of Week 11, he's the wide receiver 9 in fantasy points with Caleb Williams. 15.5 fantasy points per game since that change. In that 6-week span, he has been targeted on 28% of his routes, 32% of his team's first read. He's the matchup against Seattle is good. There should be a little bit of rain, but the thing is, guys, like, we're talking about, there's rain for my players. There's rain for your opponent's players too. Here are the games right now with at least, some rain. We're on watch. If you have a player from Seattle, Chicago, Denver, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, the Giants, to the Titans or Jacksonville or the Jets or Buffalo or Carolina or Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or if Dallas or Philly, or if you've got the Dolphins or the Browns or Atlanta or the Commanders, any one of those teams, there should be a little bit of water out there.
I just checked the 10-day for Arizona. We got nothing. No rain. I would like some rain.
Yeah.
I would like some rain.
Arizona right now, Christmas shouldn't be in the 70s, and we're a desert here. People shouldn't live here.
It was beautiful yesterday.
It was
amazing.
Nice. All right, my wide receiver star of the week, I think it's T. Higgins. And and I know this one feels a little sketchy. That's why I'm highlighting his name. He left last week's game. He pulled a full Shady McCoy where you're like, well, that was it. That's the season-ending injury for T. Higgins, who's going into a contract year. And then he came back into the game. And so he's the wide receiver 8 in fantasy points per game. That's how well T. Higgins has played. In fact, Kyle pulled this one up. T. Higgins and Puka have both played 10 games this year. T is 5.5 points fewer than Puka. Like, we all look at what Puka's doing. We're like, this dude's balling out. T. Higgins is right there with him.
5.5 total fantasy points?
That's what Kyle has been saying. Like, T. Higgins has been really, really good.
It's just he's really, really missing sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously that's not points. Wow. That's like total points, right?
Yeah.
So he has some more explosive games. But so you're doubling down on the Denver downpour.
Well, here's the thing. This was all prepared before I was made aware that the storm could be what some are thinking that it could be. But T. Higgins, this was more of a, if everything is good, I think that T. Higgins is going to be in a really good spot. The Denver secondary has actually not been strong against fantasy wide receivers. Like, we look at them as a great defense because they are, but since week 9, Denver is 28th in schedule adjusted points to wide receivers, dead last in passing yards allowed. We saw what Jameis was able to do against that Denver Broncos defense. Just saying, in a good climate scenario, I think that this game could really go off.
Mike, give us your tight end as well.
This one, look, Trey McBride.
I love it. Yeah,
this is Trey McBride. Did you guys see the video of Trey McBride leaving? Leaving the field. He had a lot of choice words for his team. He was big time mad, and I think that this is the perfect situation for.
Is it because they didn't use him at all?
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
In a loss while he was wide open all the time.
So
overtime loss?
I think that this is the squeaky wheel that Trey McBride gets right back on board to being an elite tight end. The Rams run a ton of zone, allowing the third highest fantasy points per drop back versus zone, and McBride kills zone. Like, this is his specialty, kind of like how Travis Kelce just finds a spot. They've been doing that more and more with Trey McBride, so this is not a time where I am scared of what happened last week.
Jason.
Oh, it's you and me together, hand in hand.
Oh, you're letting me in?
Oh, absolutely.
You're letting me in on your start of the week?
Yeah.
All right.
Chigaconquo, baby. It's the only
guy you found.
Oh.
There we go.
Just need about 4 touchdowns, Chig, after last night.
Well, hey, 10 targets in week 15, 11 targets in week 16. So can we get 12 targets this week?
Maybe.
Over the last 3 weeks with Mason Rudolph, he has been targeted on 32% of his routes. That is the same as Jamar Chase. He's seen 27% of the Titans' first read targets. That is better than Mike Evans for the Bucs. He is averaging 0.52 fantasy points per route run. That is the same as Drake London. And the matchup against Jacksonville is fantastic. Chig should be in a lot of lineups. Like, if you don't have one of the premier studly tight ends, Chig's the best next man up.
All right, and I do wonder if some people, because it seemed like something you could do, they're counting on Chig and they benched Kelce.
Oh, yeah, and I would have done it. I'd suggested. I mean, that's what the game was so surprising to have Travis Kelce go from just the 30 yards that he's been giving you for weeks now, and then he has the explosive game. It's brutal.
All right, those are our starts of the week. We'll take a break. We'll hit the forecast. A reminder that tonight's game was previewed on our Tuesday pre-Christmas episode, so you can go back and check that out. Let's jump in.
It's time for Fantasy Forecast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook.
Well, the forecast has a double meaning all the more this week as we get into championship week with some rain in the forecast. The Chargers at 9-6 go to New England to take on the Patriots, who are 3-12. The DK Sportsbook line here, Chargers -4.5. The over-under is 42.5. And here we go. The Chargers clinch a playoff spot with a win or a Colts loss and a Miami loss. So they're right on the edge. They're right on the cusp, and they are favored, but not by as many points.
I was blown away at this line.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit surprising to me. The Chargers only 4.5-point favorites on the road. I mean, I'd take them in the points.
It's going to be.
Don't really have a almost upset inkling here.
It's just it hasn't been great for them lately.
Well, they are hoping to get J.K. Dobbins back on the field. Greg Roman said, quote, "I thought he looked really good, fresh, thought there was spring in his step."
He's going to be an interesting start-sit decision because I think he's fine. He's had the month off. If his knee is healthy and he looks good in practice and he's activated, I expect him to get the work. But it's really hard to put someone straight off the IR into your starting lineup when you go, well, is he going to come in and get 8 carries?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a really tough one there, which is Tony Pollard, been banged up, been limping off the field at times, or J.K. Dobbins?
I would go Dobbins there. The matchup is really good for Dobbins, and we've seen Pollard the last couple of weeks try to play through these injuries, and I expect him to be out there again, but he hasn't really been able to. So Dobbins, I think he should be fine.
I think there's a couple hard decisions at running back in this game because Ramondre's rushing line's at 42.5. He's been much better at home, but his head coach once again came out this morning and said, like, we might bench him. Like he set a precedent in the locker room of saying, look, we got to protect the football. Ramondre fumbled the football. So he said it's a possibility we're going to bench him in favor of Antonio Gibson. Last time he said this, Gibson got the first carry, and then it was back to Ramondre.
And then Ramondre was fine.
They benched him.
But I mean, there's a risk, right? Like if Ramondre does get an opportunity and he does fumble, then you're going to see just a complete bust of a week, which is still a possibility with Ramondre at any moment in time. He was double digits last week. Gibson is a player that I'm adding as an emergency running back start. If I'm going kind of into the weekend with injured players that may or may not go, maybe it's Connor, maybe it's Pollard.
That's fair.
I'm going to add Gibson as an emergency play because some of those guys have already gone. Like Jaylen Warren would have been an emergency play for me, but he played already. So do I want to play them? Not really.
Yep.
I did have a dream that Hunter Henry scored like 45 points.
Well, it's not a great matchup for him.
But it's probably just a dream, huh?
Probably just a dream.
Yeah, matchup is bad, but 22% target share. I mean, volume's there.
I mean, Ladd McConkey's sitting at a receiving line of 71.5. I mean, this is a player that is kind of automatic at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't imagine what the line is for like 50+ on him.
Oh, it's got to be like -300. I would say, I mean, this is a player who hasn't had fewer than 50 yards since week 7. So that's just like a layup.
It does feel like
an
end-of-the-year layup.
Yeah. No, Ladd is in everybody's lineup. If you've had him, he's just been too consistent. He is the clear leader of this wide receiver room. The matchup, I expect it to come early. And, the Patriots don't give up a ton of fantasy points to wide receivers, but it's not because they shut wide receivers down. It's because they're usually at the second half in a game script where they're not needed that much. So maybe it's good that it's a smaller line here of 4.5 points for the Chargers, and maybe the Patriots can make it a little bit more interesting.
Now, it's Thursday, December 26th, so consider that when we talk weather in this game. The Broncos at 9-6, the Bengals 7-8. We've already alluded to it. The DraftKings Sportsbook line, Cincy -3.5. The over-under not changing. That's encouraging to me. Still 49.5. The report we had earlier was that rain's likely, washout potential. I saw gusts up to 20 to 30 miles an hour. That's not what I'm seeing now. Right now, I'm seeing chance of precipitation at 70%. I barely got that word right. And I'm only seeing 6 mile an hour winds.
Oh, that would be fantastic for a game that could really have a lot of offensive outpouring. I mean, this was the game going into the week.
Words.
Yeah, don't say pour.
Say that, dude.
Don't say outpour.
I thought I matched pretty
Remember,
well.
it's
with
a rain
this game.
pour.
Yeah.
Look, if there's not wind, I'm not that freaked out. You might have a downpour during the game that makes it passing prohibitive for a period of time. But again, you don't want to overreact to this because what are the real choices that you have? Are you benching Joe Burrow based on any weather report? Are you benching Jamar Chase based on any weather report? I cannot fathom
think so.
that.
No,
Jalen McMillan instead of Chase?
No, you're not going to move off of those guys at all. I will say, like if Jalen Hurts, if you're the Jalen Hurts manager, Bo Nix was a really good pivot that you could have picked up off of the waivers to play in your championship. That might be a name where I get a little scared about a rookie.
Oh, I'd go Kyler or Darnold or Purdy or Goff or any of those guys over Bo Nix with any weather threat. You're right on that one.
And a reminder, the over-under is holding at 49.5.
So Burrow, Chase, and Chase Brown, who could be the beneficiary of rain, are all locks in your lineup. Higgins, been limited, but then a full practice on Wednesday. He's going to be back out there.
What about Cortland Sutton? I think
His receiving line 65.5.
Is it really?
65.5.
Yeah, Sutton's right back in there.
You got to play him.
Man, that's the last 2 weeks he had 32 receiving yards and then he had 50 receiving yards.
But it was 32 yards on 9 targets.
I mean, is that comforting or?
Yeah,
I mean,
it for me it is because
it's wide receiver 15 still in the year.
Like the volume is far. I mean, he caught 33% of his passes. When on the year, he's catching 60%.
No, I get it. I'm just saying if you add in the weather, like we were talking about, you don't pivot off of Jamar Chase. You're not going to pivot off of Burrow. But a Cortland Sutton, if it turns out that this is a really, like it's like, hey, this is the crazy downpour, high wind game. If that happens, I feel like I would rather start a McMillan. You know, Cortland Sutton is a guy who you could say kind of got you here, but really, if you're in the championship, he didn't get you here the last 2 weeks through the playoffs. You had to overcome him. And I think a lot of the managers who have him might be going, I'm looking for another option.
Yeah, I just think the worry is overemphasizing the weather. I think if you got right down to the wire and it looked horrific, then maybe you're right. But otherwise, I wouldn't want to lose with my best players on the bench.
So if you are a Sutton manager, are you looking to have other weapons prepared for right down to the wire?
I mean, I would hope that you're in that situation where you've got a flex-worthy player on your bench going into Sunday morning no matter what. I guess it's a Saturday game, right?
This one
Saturday,
is a Saturday
4:30.
game.
So
that's actually really nice.
So that makes it you'll have that information, then you can make an adjustment. The Cardinals are 7-8, taking on the 9-6 Rams.
Now, real quick before we go, how much of not worrying about Cortland Sutton, Andy, is you wanting Jeremy to play Cortland Sutton against you?
It's tougher because I got Chase in the same game. So it's like I just feel like they're going to be both equally neutralized where whatever happens, he's got the Chase on the other side. I mean, what are the odds that Cortland Sutton's affected by the weather because it rains when they have the ball and then it's really clear skies for Chase? Can you tell me about that? Because I would like that.
That's unlikely.
Unlikely.
As a meteorologist.
Is there any chance that
Can't
Jamar
confirm.
Chase has rain-proof hands?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, like the gloves are probably pretty. Like his hands won't be wet.
Both teams have already.
that's what you
they've
mean.
got to be waterproof.
Yeah.
Both teams have already said that they're practicing with wet footballs this week and doing all that jazz. At least Peyton said that.
Oh, come on, dude.
Mike is tilting.
Mike is real. I've never
tilting.
seen him tilt like this.
No,
Because
this has been full tilt.
I am it's very well known of my stance on Big Dome that I am for it, and for if that actually happens and everything we've been doing comes down to that and you're like, oh well, it's real rainy, that feels really bad.
It's impossible to like unring the fantasy bell because we've been doing it for 15, 16, 17 years. But I would love to know what like the natural thought about those games would be without any fantasy context. Like if you were a football fan, how would you view these games at this time of the year compared to the way we view them? Because through fantasy, we just want to see the players that we got be able to provide for us on those weeks.
Mine really isn't actual. It's an NFL lens too, because like, what do they do with the Super Bowl, guys?
Right.
What do they do with the biggest game of the year? They make sure there's no weather because they want the best performance possible. Yes, I like to watch one snow game every once in a while. You're like, oh, it's fun. But for everything to come down to, can your team actually perform when it's raining? It's
a pretty strong argument.
It feels rough.
It's a pretty strong argument. You guys see the video of the new Buffalo Stadium?
Yeah.
Some of the things that they're doing. I thought it was kind of, because they did not want to remove weather from the equation in Buffalo, but they also are doing things like they've got very little exposure to wind and very little exposure
that's
to
great.
The crowd being soaking wet and the field being warm and de-iced and stuff. So they're doing some things there that I think
it's way more expensive than just putting a roof on.
It actually is more expensive what they're doing.
Cardinals 7-8, Rams 9-6. Rams 7-point home favorites. The over/under is 47.5. Rams have a high implied point total of 27.3. If they win and Seattle loses, they are the champions of the NFC West. They also play the Seahawks in Week 18. So if Seattle wins again, it'll come down to Week 18.
Nice.
I did mention at the beginning of the week, when you think about motivation factors for the Cardinals, they're saying all the right things in the press conferences of their motivation to win this game and to play every down and to finish the season strong. I am more compelled by that argument because it's a divisional matchup where you can disrupt your divisional rival. This is a long-term rival. So does Connor want to play? I think it's more motivated by playing the Rams than it would be playing some other team with no consequence on either side of the football, a couple of out-of-playoff teams, for example. It's a tough and more difficult call because Connor has been on a tear. The RB7, 1-6. He was the RB6 last week, playing 44% of snaps.
Yeah, I mean, he's been awesome. I do think if he's active, I would play him. I'm not quite as concerned. I mean, he's been practicing, so it's one of those where if he was like not practicing at all, not practicing, DMP, and then, oh, he's a surprise active, that gets you worried. But the fact that he's actually been at practice, been doing this, and they're going to need him in this game. I mean, they've lost 4 of their last 5 games. The Cardinals have. It's divisional, but this is also like a revenge game for the Rams. If you remember, week 2, they got humiliated by the Cardinals, 41-10. They got just drubbed, and that's got to.
That was the Marv game.
That was a Marv game. That was the game where they lost like their entire offensive line, and I'm sure they're coming back here to put a stamp on the Cardinals.
Well, let me talk about the hardest decision to make, and I'm struggling with it because it's 4 straight wins for the Rams. They scored 21, 44. They won 12 and 19. So not scoring a ton of points. They did it against Buffalo. But the last 4 games they've won in Cooper Kupp, wide receivers 78, 15, 117, and 73. So completely irrelevant in 3 of 4 games despite winning. He's not required anymore to win the football game when Kyren and Puka are involved.
Yeah.
And he's a tough start-sit decision.
He is. Yeah, I mean, you just said it. 3 of the last 4 weeks, the yardage is not there. I mean, his second highest yardage is 24 yards. I was not concerned at all after the Goose, but looking, deeper at it, I am very concerned. And it's not like this is a great matchup. The Cardinals, over the course of the season, they're number 4 in fantasy points given up to wide receivers.
Which is weird because they're allowing the highest completion rate in the NFL.
Yeah, keep in mind they suck.
Like, it's so strange.
And I hate them.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals are always an enigma. Sometimes their defense shows up and they look awesome, and other times they let Bryce Young run for 100 yards.
If Connor's inactive, who do you start at running back for Arizona? Is it Michael Carter? We're waiting on Trey Benson, too. He was limited.
I don't think Trey Benson will be active, so it would be Michael Carter. If Trey Benson is active, it would be Trey Benson ahead of Michael Carter, but it would be nobody is the correct answer.
Mike, were you asking a question about somebody else?
Kyler. What do you possibly do?
He is your pivot option for the Bo Nix for the on the fence situation, but you're trying not to play him. They have a road matchup against a team that's hungry to make the playoffs, and
he's been so bad,
and he's a stinky bad quarterback.
Yeah,
he was 20 points last week. Like when you look at it, you're like, oh, QB 13, but he was 20 plus points. Like
took overtime.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the last 5 weeks for Kyler Murray, 23. This is his fantasy finishes: 23, 18, 11, 22, 13. That is not a recipe for a must start.
Well, and the points are even more indicative. I mean, 10 points, 15 points, 10 points again. The floor is not what it should be for a mobile quarterback.
So he's not a must play to me.
All right.
McBride's your start of the week. Puka's in your lineup. Marvin Harrison is a scary start.
Very.
And McMillan over Harrison, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean that's a better situation.
Game environment.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll hit the Sunday games. You know, we're going to talk Jets 4-11, Buffalo 12-3 divisional game, Buffalo 8.5-point home favorites, over unders 47. But I'm realizing that for a guy like me who had a bad Christmas for fantasy,
right?
Because my players were bad. The weather is really kind of
– it's good news for you.
I am welcoming the weather because it represents a variable that could accidentally work in my favor, starting with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers in this game.
The underdogs of the world
they like the weather.
Really hoping it's a rainy,
We
windy...
are anti-dome, baby.
Yeah. You want chaos.
Yeah, Jeremy already looked into the cost of maybe covering some of these stadiums for a 1 week situation just to be able to.
How many people will just like hold hands? Like I'll hold a tarp over the stadium.
Man, and then 300 people flew away.
You know what?
Worth it.
Did he catch the touchdown?
Yeah.
With a win, the Bills lock up the 2 seed. And, here we are. At one point in the offseason, the Jets were favorites to win the division. And Aaron Rodgers, MCL injury, said he's going to play. Adams missed a practice with a hip injury. You imagine he's going to be out there. Garrett Wilson, squeaky wheel narrative.
Hope so.
Buffalo has, they're right on the cusp of locking things in. Defensively, they've been weird at times. Played New England last week, gave up 42 points to Detroit the week before and 44 points to the Rams the week before that. So defensively, they've been struggling. That's your argument for Adams, Wilson, and Rodgers and Brees.
Yep.
Yeah, this is –
But the rain is –
We've made a big deal about the rain in the
Broncos game?
Yeah, in the Broncos-Bengals game, but this is another one that should potentially be a complete downpour, a huge, wet, rain out type of game.
Definite rain is the forecast.
Yeah, Buffalo's known for having some of these bad weather games, and so this is part of why I like Breece Hall. The running game, the dump offs, the short screens, those type of things that might be good for, if you're looking at trying to make light of this very confusing wide receiver core for the Bills. That says to me, Khalil Shakir, that's his type of game. Where he thrives is in that short screen games, those dump offs, get blockers out in front, as opposed to an Amari Cooper who's going to be more down the field.
He would be the one I'd start if I was forced to start one, but I would not be trying to personally. I'm worried about it. I mean, Cooper's been bad, Coleman's been bad, Kincaid's been invisible.
Or Khalil Shakir?
Thielen. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Shakir was not really involved last week. He's obviously been pretty decent, but they've gotten some pieces back, right? Like Shakir's, if you look at how he's played, he's been okay if you're lucky. That's basically what it's come down to. And with Kincaid and Coleman back, I worry a little bit about guaranteed touches. Allen and Cook are in. And then I think that wraps it up. I mean, Josh Allen, he's now minus 240 on the MVP. He was minus 600 the week before. Lamar is moving up.
Man.
Houston could have made it even easier for Lamar to move up if they could have scored some points.
people on the sports Twitter are really, really fired up talking about the MVP, and I have no idea, like, why are people so big mad? Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, there's just it's the disrespect narrative for some reason. And
it's so weird.
I mean, Buffalo. Look, if there was ever a season where a player's reputation, legacy was on the line, it was this year in Buffalo for Josh Allen. They lost Stephon Diggs. This was a team that some projected, we just said it, before the season, not to win the division. They go 12-3 with a hodgepodge of injuries and wide receivers that almost nobody has seen production from. It's an impressive performance. Allen and Lamar Jackson are the two most valuable players in the game.
Absolutely. To me, it's more of the...
And one of them is on the cusp of the 2 seed.
Like, the Allen versus Lamar people are just so mad at each other.
I don't know why.
It is just like, what?
Maybe
when have we ever cared who won the MVP?
When they've got bets. When they've got some money on the line and they're going, oh, no way, he's got Derrick Henry. He shouldn't be. He's not even the most valuable player on his own team.
It's the weirdest MVP discourse that I can remember.
I do like that. So, some years I feel like it's just, the best player on the best team or the quarterback on the best team. And this year it really does feel like those two guys are playing outrageous football, and both are extremely deserving of it.
Yeah. The Raiders are 3-12. And the Saints are 5-10.
Man.
And there's a football game we're going to do.
They're going to play this game.
They're going to play this game.
The mustache versus the rat tail.
Like, they're not canceling this.
There
was some talk about it.
No, this is how you can have these teams be watchable, is you play them against each other. When a JV team plays an NFL team, that's bad football. Okay. That's a waste of everybody's time. When a JV team plays a JV team, you can go to a high school football game and have
Nobody
a good
can run
time.
Fast.
So I think this could be a surprisingly good matchup.
The Raiders are 1.5-point road favorites. Over-under's 38. We expect Spencer Rattler to be the starter.
I got a snake, man.
That freaked me out. Aiden O'Connell on the other side. Kamara's not practicing. Kendre Miller, I have zero confidence in Kendre Miller.
You'd go Madison over Kamara, or I'm sorry, over Miller, right?
Yes, because I think that his snap counts are more secure and they're favored, and both of them stink.
The utilization of Kendre Miller was the biggest problem, because Kendre Miller I still think he's a much more talented running back, I believe, than Alexander Madison. But Alexander Madison's getting the work, and Kendre Miller was in a full committee, even with Alvin Kamara out of the way. That was what was really upsetting, because I do think if they gave the whole work to Kendre Miller in a matchup like this against a bad team, he could succeed, but not if he's getting, a half of it or a third of it.
You guys realize that Brock Bowers is 5 catches from Puka's rookie record?
Wow.
Really?
So he
will do that.
Going to break the rookie record for receptions.
He has 2 more games to do that. That's crazy. He's been outrageously good.
And he's 10 yards from Dicka's rookie tight end record. So he's going to do both of those things. He said he tries not to think about it because it stresses him out. He just wants to win. He hasn't got to do a lot of that this year. Jacoby Myers, it started nice, and he didn't touch the ball the rest of the game last week. He actually ended up with only 5 fantasy points, 2 catches for 41 yards. He's a scary, risky play because he's been outside the top 24 in 4 straight. This is where if you've got that connection to a quarterback you have no confidence in, it gives you no confidence. That's the problem.
Yep.
I'm still okay with Jacoby Myers. Obviously, bad game last week, but all the weeks prior, 9 targets, 10 targets, 11 targets, 15 targets. He is involved, and this is another matchup where I think you can play him. Hard to off of a disappointing week last week, but you just can't be that recency biased with a wide receiver because you're always going to have inconsistency.
The problem with him is that you're not buying ceiling.
Correct. Yeah.
That's if you were looking for ceiling, you got to look somewhere else.
Right. That's where McMillan has a chance to score 2 touchdowns, and with Jacoby, you're praying for a touchdown, but he's not getting a touchdown.
You think Al will let me play Connor and McMillan in one slot?
You can ask him. He's right there.
Al?
Nah.
Okay. Officially ruled.
He's already buying all his
he's hitting up
championship gear. Colts are 7-8. The Giants are 2-13. Giants have the number 1 pick right now. Giants are 7.5-point underdogs at home, and they have an implied point total of 16 points.
Oof.
The over-under is 40 here, but the Colts have a nice 24-point implied point total. So Colts desperately need the game to stay in the mix. Giants desperately need the game to be an L so they can keep the number 1 spot. So it makes Richardson he's always
he's streamable.
He's always in the mix, could always get it done. Last 4 weeks, 1 finish at number 10 at the quarterback position. You're probably not getting a big ceiling game here because the way I would see this game working out is more so Jonathan Taylor and the defense, and then you're just salting the game away. It's kind of what we saw last week. Josh Downs, I don't really have confidence in pass catchers despite the matchup.
No, it's funny when you can say that the quarterback is a pretty good start, but don't start any of his receivers because it's really a matter of the groundwork. Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson should both have a ton of rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. That's pretty much it. On the other side, I mean, this is a pretty easy game because Tyrone Tracy didn't practice on Wednesday with the ankle, but I think that's just probably rest. He had
Neighbors didn't either. Toe injury. Yeah,
and he had work last week. So I think I'm okay with Tracy and Neighbors, and I'm okay with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor.
And the Colts D.
Yeah, for sure, the Colts D. Heck yeah. And that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could if you're comparing some of these wide receivers we've talked about, Jacoby Myers. The touchdown upside is higher in this game for a Pittman or a Josh Downs than it is for Jacoby. Yeah, if you're playing for ceiling,
just
I
looking
think
for target share here.
Yeah.
Parlay Partay time. Jason,
I'll kick it off, baby.
No, Jason. You gotta hand things out, man.
Yeah, we
give you a responsibility, and you're not bragging.
Wigs?
We don't
have them this week. We did it, everybody.
Triple crown.
Well, I mean, I do it on every week, but
yeah,
we did it. What are you doing over here, Jay? You okay?
I'm good, man.
All right.
Congratulations.
I like this crown. Yeah,
you look real good.
Yeah,
I love that you're afraid. Neither of you took your hat off.
I never do.
Yeah, why?
So we all hit our parlays last week. I was 50+ yards for Flowers. Jason was 25+ yards for Gibbs in the receiving game, and Mike had over 5.5 receptions for Neighbors, which
it only took 14 targets to barely get there.
He had a couple called back, but we got there. This week, I am going opposite of Mike's start of the week. I think Higgins has a re-injury factor. He got banged up last week. He's got a rain factor, and he's got a line of 71.5 receiving yards.
I said I think my start of the week is T. Higgins.
Yeah, well, when it rains, it pours, and Higgins under 71.5 is my pick.
Okay, I'm going, as we talked about earlier, Ladd McConkey over 50 receiving yards. He does it every single week. Should be a gimme.
Yeah,
since week 8, he's averaging 87 yards. He's hit this in 8 straight games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is a gimme.
Bold.
Do you want me to take something that he can't hit?
Mike.
Trey McBride, my start of the week. I'm going 60+ receiving yards. He's averaging 68 yards per game. He went 6 for 67 against the Rams earlier, and I do believe this is a squeaky wheel. No, I am not going to guarantee the Trey McBride touchdown.
No one can do that.
As we all foolishly continue to do, but I think the receptions and the yardage, it's a bounce back.
That was Fantasy Forecast presented by DraftKings Pick 6. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use the code BALLERS. That's the code BALLERS for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. That'll do it for today. We got more matchups in the Fantasy Face-Off tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the holiday week. Al Borland, glad I could lower your blood pressure. Rain.
Go
Come
away.
Again.
Go away. Goodbye.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.